city, as far as vibrancy goes, the jobs it creates for everybody. And and I think competition is a good thing. Makes you look at your business, how you're operating it, and how you can improve it, and to maintain a safe and comfortable environment for everybody, to go out and socialise, not just for the whānau here, the community, but for visitors, Manahiri, to Gisborne, and they go away with a good impression of what Gisborne can offer. And I'm just concerned at the moment the way hospitality is going in Gisborne and the lack of vibrancy, especially in the CBD. And as we all know, it's been tough times for all businesses, but particularly hospitality, given COVID, cyclones. It's very tough times recession-wise now. And I think hospitality needs all the encouragement that it can get. And what I'm just speaking on is the second proposal, which regards Class 2 and 3 restaurants, about bringing their operating hours back to midnight. I just don't see any reason why that should be happening. That's not encouraging hospitality. That is stopping the operators, the opportunities. Well, for example, I'll give you, just say there was a function, wedding, anniversary, reunion, whatever. To go to that, if they go there and to be told that they have to midnight to leave, you know, that's going to put a lot of people off doing that. You may say that these people could apply it for a special licence, extra money, and it's not practical. You know, these special licences take a lot of time. There's so many rules, and there are rules and regulations now. If a on-premise is not adhering to them, obviously they suffer the consequences for it. But a Class 2 and 3 restaurant, I doubt very much that they will all be operating within the law, and they won't be doing anything that's unsafe for the community out there. We need to, and if someone new is coming into the industry, it's sort of just a bit discouraging to see if, hey, look, they only be able to open to midnight. If they're doing what they should be doing, and they will be, you know, midnight it's not late, and they need those options, you know, to go later. And you know, the vibrancy, you know, hospitality, the vibrancy in town. Like, I understand Ben McCann has got a premise ready to open now. I don't know the full ins and outs, but I know there's issues going on there. But we need places. We need more places in town. We need places for people to go out and enjoy. And visitors that come in, just like I said before, we need these places. We need to offer it, but we need to get the vibrancy back into town. So I hope, just on that proposal I'm speaking to, that the status quo remains, and that common sense will prevail, and yes, that that future hospitality is encouraged. People who want to go into the industry. Thank you.
Just one question here from Barry. Yes.
Hey, you didn't go on to A very much at all. No new licences to be granted for Class 1 restaurants located within 150 metres of sensitive sites. What's your view on sensitive sites in the CBD?
Well, I could just speak to what Ben is proposing here. You know, like that was always a hospitality precinct, you know. And I understand there's a Kuta next door, but I don't know why it's next door. You know, I mean, I think the location of it is inappropriate. But, you know, I'm all for the LAP and sensitive sites. And, you know, it should be on a case-by-case basis, I think. You know, with what's operating. I don't know what hours they're going to be operating and things like that. But sure, you know, we've got to be conscious of you know, what the community thinks as well. But I mean, hospitality is precinct, you know, should be hospa. That should be the priority for the town. And town's lacking vibrancy, you know. We need to look at that.
Thanks a lot, Brendan.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, next we will be calling Nathan Cowie. Thank you. And Nathan, you're going to do a PowerPoint presentation.
I didn't understand that.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so what we are going to do
We have
is,
the PowerPoint on the screen.
Nathan, will you be able to turn your camera on? Welcome to the Gisborne District.
It is on.
I can't see you, but that's okay. What we will do, I assume you are going to share your screen with us. Is that correct?
I was under the understanding that you had a one set up there.
Just excuse me for 1 minute. Jill, do
can-
we have his presentation with you?
Sure.
Here, but yes.
Okay, so Brendan, Nathan, we do have your presentation. So when you're ready, you can just let us know and Jill can get it set to go.
Okay, well, I'll start off with the first screen of the presentation. And just to introduce ourselves, my name is Nathan Cowie. I'm a volunteer with Communities Against Alcohol Harm. Also with me today is Dr. Grant Hewison. And Communities Against Alcohol Harm, we are set up and we provide advice and support to local community organisations, members of the public, Māori and other stakeholders who are seeking to reduce alcohol-related harm in their communities. And in particular, we're looking at harm and potential harm that arises from applications for alcohol licences. Primarily, we are concerned with new liquor stores opening up in communities, especially where there is already a saturation of liquor stores. And also, when it comes to taverns, we mainly focus on places that you might characterise as pokey dens, because the interaction of alcohol harm and gambling harm is of quite concern. We have worked in Gisborne before. A number of years ago, we supported Liz Crawford and Tuta Narimu from Kapai Kaiti. Did actually result in some awkward case law, but I believe there was an amendment to the Sale and Supply of Alcohol Act last year, which did tidy some of that up. Now, if I can just, I believe that's actually the last slide that's on the screen in front of you. If you could go to the first slide, that would be awesome. So what I've got written there on our title slide is that the harm caused by alcohol should be minimised, and that is, of course, the object of this Sale and Supply of Alcohol Act, that the harm caused by the excessive or inappropriate consumption of alcohol should be minimised. And that is a broad range of harms occurring from alcohol. And so if I can also just address the picture on the screen, that is from one of our community activations. This was in Mangere East, which is one of the communities that we work closely with in South Auckland. This is one of the areas where where Communities Against Alcohol Harm kind of was born from. And this is a place where there was a liquor store. It got shut down and they tried to come back, and it was community power that stopped it coming back. So we do like to get local communities involved and support them through the licensing process. If I could go to slide 2, please. So Communities Against Alcohol Harm we are broadly supportive of the LAPs and of this Gisborne LAP and the proposals. It is strong, and the trading hours are something that that do provide a lot of protection to the community. And I think it's also important to note that in a local alcohol policy, at the end of the day, the district licensing committee at a local level has to have regard to it. They're not required to give effect to it. So there is always that room for discretion when it comes to district licensing committees and their decisions. I wanted to touch on your proposal to strengthen the discretionary conditions to reduce external advertising. We've got a lot of experience in kind of dealing with external advertising, particularly in Auckland, but also in Christchurch, where we also work. So one thing that I'm worried about is that these restrictions on external advertising are not specific. So usually they're interpreted as to mean alcohol brand advertising. But what we've been finding is that also of concern is the aggressive franchise branding that occurs on liquor stores. And if you look at the bottom left of that image, you can see that that premise is just like totally green. And other liquor stores there have lots and lots and lots and lots of logos. They might not have that much alcohol brand advertising, but the signage and the color schemes, it is just a bit over the top. And in the text below, we've actually provided what we feel is the best practice way to deal with it. And I don't think we have any communities around New Zealand that have managed to appropriately deal with this issue of, particularly the aggressive franchise branding and colour schemes and livery. But that would be our best shot. I would advise that you have a look at that and see what you might want to put in as your discretionary condition for the District Licensing Committee to apply. If I could go to the next screen, I'd like to talk about fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. So last year, pregnancy warning labels were mandated to be on all alcohol products that have gone into stores since July 2023. So fetal alcohol spectrum disorder is a neurodevelopmental disorder caused by exposure to alcohol before birth. The main effect from exposure to alcohol during pregnancy is to the brain, but other parts of the body are also expected. People living with FASD can experience a range of complex physical, behavioural, learning and intellectual problems through their lives. FASD shapes the life of the person affected and those who care for them. Now, recent research shows that disability from FASD is a huge contributor to the burden of alcohol's harms to others in New Zealand, responsible for many healthy life years lost in New Zealand, and the burden is substantially higher among Māori. So the current pregnancy warnings on the alcohol containers and packaging are welcome, but there is more that can be done to warn communities about one of the more severe harms from alcohol. And we're proposing to reformat the pregnancy warning label to create a pregnancy warning sign that be A4 and easily printed out and displayed at point of sale and in liquor stores and at single alcohol areas of supermarkets and grocery stores. Easily printable, easily readable. We think such a sign could increase the awareness and salience of the warnings that are already on the bottle. On the right of the screen there, you've got the label that's on the bottles is on the top, and below is our proposal for an A4 sized pregnancy warning sign. And as I said, the object of the Sale and Supply of Alcohol Act 2012 is to minimise the harm caused by alcohol. And we think such proposals are entirely consistent with that objective. So I think that's all I've got to say for now. So thanks very much for letting us speak, and we'll be happy to take any questions, Grant and I.
Thank you for that, Nathan, and also thank you for your extensive written submission as well. Councillors have received that. Are there any questions of Nathan? No, don't even think of that, Mr. McCann. Nathan, thank you so much for taking the time to come and talk to us today, and we will be in contact in due course. Thank you. We will deliberate this on the 2nd of May. We are only listening to submitters. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Next, I am going to call Andrew Sutcliffe to the front. Thank you, Andrew. Kia ora. Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning.
Please take a seat, make yourself at home, and the floor is yours when you're ready.
Kia ora. Thank you for inviting me. I'd like to start off with, my wife and I emigrated to New Zealand 9 years ago. 4 years ago, we moved to Napier to live life in a bustling city and see life from a different perspective. We missed Gisborne and moved back 2 years ago to live and work within a great community. Since returning, we have seen a sharp decline in retail, bars and restaurants. Further restrictions on any of these businesses will deter future growth. You have to ask, why would anyone want to invest or set up hospitality within Gisborne when it seems intent on deterring them? Gisborne was once referred to as a holiday destination with a bustling city provided all the shopping and entertainment you would expect from a holiday retreat. But why would you want to come to Gisborne if the hospitality is barely surviving and the shops have long since gone? Day-to-day business is conducted within these establishments. Friends and family socialise and meet up. That is why it's a crucial part of the community and just as important as any other service. The system is not broken, it only needs to be monitored. If health is the main reason for these restrictions, then we need to look at other areas that have no control and pose a far greater risk than the already restricted hospitality sector. Hopefully common sense will prevail and people will realise the impact of these proposed changes.
Thank you for that.
No problem.
Well done. And I forgot to press the clock, but you were quite smart.
Sure, sweet.
Thank you for that. It's like my clock is not working anymore. Oh. Oh, I've been pressing the button thinking I've been in control here. You're not in control. I am not in control, obviously not. Okay, I missed one procedural process. Apologies. I have apologies from Councillor Ria. I have Councillor Parata online. Anything else? I'll move that. Seconded by Councillor Robinson. All in favour? Contrary, carried. Declarations of interest? None. Leave of absence, acknowledgement or tributes, public input and petitions, extraordinary business, notions of motion, adjourned business, nothing. So we move on. Next is a Teams presentation by Andrew Galloway. Thank you, Andrew.
Kia ora koutou.
Well, Andrew, if you just speak up a little bit, we might just get Joel to adjust our volume. So if you can keep on speaking so that we can adjust the volume.
Kia ora koutou. Can you hear me okay?
It's all good. Thank you. You have 5 minutes. The floor is yours. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Your Worship, and councillors for giving me the opportunity to talk today. By way of introduction, Andrew Galloway is my name, and I'm the Executive Director at Alcohol Health Watch. We're an independent national charity working to reduce alcohol harm and inequities. We're contracted by Te Whatu Ora Health New Zealand to provide a range of regional and national health promotion services. We really do commend the Gisborne District Council on its commitment to reviewing district local alcohol policy and commend the efforts of council members and staff in reviewing the LAP. We believe that the review of the LAP is timely and provides an opportunity for the policy to reflect the Supreme Court decision on Auckland Council's provisional LAP. If you're not aware of that decision, it's worth a read. We can provide a copy. There's a reference in our submission. That decision really did enshrine, that was based on Auckland Council's LAP, which has been battled for 9+ years, and really is one of the major reasons the government decided to enact the Community Participation Amendment Act. So that's the second reason we think it's timely, is that councils have been empowered to make effective and powerful policies, recognising the huge amount of harm that alcohol causes in the community, and Gisborne Tairāwhiti is no exception. We also believe it's a good opportunity to ensure greater consistency and synergy with LAPs around Aotearoa New Zealand, and take note of the changing environment and emerging issues in the region since 2018. I'll go through in quick summary the things that we support. We recommend as well that the council may take the opportunity to include measures around location of premises. All of these measures are in section 77. Issuing of further licences, discretionary conditions as you have, and one-way doors. We support the continuation of the presumption against licences being granted for new premises within 150 metres of sensitive sites. And I'm aware of the Kura issue in your district. I would encourage you to be really mindful of the impact alcohol has on Māori being overrepresented in the harms quite disproportionately. And Kura, with its special significance to Māori, is an important consideration and a balance you'll have to strike. I recognise the other balance is the provision of hospitality. We think there could be a mandatory policy on the location of new on, off and club licences by broad area. And we recommend that the mandatory policy on proximity to other premises be included with a specified distance radius. On the trading hours, we do support the reducing the trading hours. The evidence is really conclusive over decades that the more available alcohol is, the more harm it causes. We recommend the inclusion of a one-way door. We support the inclusion of discretionary conditions, but recommend a number of these could be mandatory, such as one-way door. And we really strongly support the condition around alcohol advertising, as our friend Nathan talked about from Communities Against Alcohol Harm. The effect of alcohol marketing on youth alcohol initiation and heavy drinking is established as causal. In New Zealand, there is evidence that alcohol advertising is prevalent in urban settings, with Tamariki Māori and Pacifica children disproportionately exposed. We do support the reference to crime prevention through environmental design, the additional discretionary condition included in the LAP, such as the prohibiting the use of buy now, pay later schemes, and protecting. And we recommend the LAP include provision that protect children and youth in the district by not allowing special licences to be granted for family-focused events, especially with those present may be a significant portion of attendees under 18 years. I recognise I'm at time, and I congratulate Your Worship on very efficient chairing today, and welcome any questions. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Andrew. Any questions of Andrew, councillors? Councillor Gregory, thank you.
Thank you. You said earlier on that you thought that the changes would bring our council into a greater synergy with others. This was around the sensitive sites. But can you tell me, obviously you must have a good knowledge of what happens with other councils around and what sort of distance they have for their sensitive sites. Does 150 metres that we've got proposed in here, is that sort of pretty much what everybody else has?
It's a really good question, Councillor Gregory. The most recent LAP to have been proposed and passed since the changes to the Community Empowerment Act is Tauranga, and I'd suggest having a look at that, and I can forward that information to Council. It really is important that the local context is considered. So I'd hate to say what a standard distance is, and I think it does need careful analysis based on the region and what that means. But if with the blessing of the Chair, I'm happy to forward information on Tauranga and a bit more of a thorough answer to that question, Councillor.
Lovely, thank you for that, Andrew. I've got another question from Councillor Cranston.
Yeah, thanks for that. Is there an opinion out there on online shopping of alcohol?
There's a growing body of research evidence and our own evidence that we are soon to publish in a medical journal. And we're concerned about it. We are very concerned about the presence, the quick availability of remote sales, and in particular, the evidence is showing that it can extend the drinking occasion, and in private settings, which does cause us concern. And research from Christchurch recently, I think Friday, a week ago, Rose Crossan and Dr. Laura, I can't remember her last name, but it wasn't very highly mediated, published in the media. And that showed that there's quite a change in where people are drinking and those people coming to harm. So yes, we are very concerned about remote sales and online.
Thank you. Last question, Councillor Wharehinga.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Councillor Wharehinga speaking here. Andrew, hey, just a quick question, and I just want to preface this by saying you've already mentioned the kura, that's in the CBD. We have a lot of empty buildings that are in our CBD that are, in terms of our future development strategy, would be looking at possibly turning into apartments and inner city living and things like that. Obviously, those people that live there will need things like schools and other things to service them in their whānau. In your experience, in your kind of national, I'm talking about that national lens, can you enlighten me on how other places have managed the provision of entertainment and also living in the CBD?
That's a really good question, Councillor. I was the team manager of alcohol licensing at Auckland Council, where you can imagine that was a huge problem for us with the council's endeavour to grow the amount of people who lived in the hospitality area in the CBD. It's always going to be a balancing act. I think what you've expressed with the desire to grow the amount of people living in there will change community expectations, and it will change the ability for noise and the effects of late night trading to be balanced with where people live, work and play, or go to school, for example. There's no one easy answer to that. I just recognise that is a really difficult challenge, but really happy to discuss offline if we can provide any further examples from around the Motu that may assist.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for taking the time to speak to us this morning, Andrew. We do appreciate that. Thank you.
Ka kite.
Okay, Robbie, we are going to move it up. If Robbie, Ben, maybe we'll see how it goes and then we'll take a break and then Leah can go after morning tea. But I think while everyone is here, if everyone is happy, we'll just carry on and go. Well, good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I'm here on behalf of building owners and people that develop within the CBD. I am completely against this 150 metres. The reason being is because you just take the marina, for example, right here. It's got a Wakarama right next to it. That restaurant will never open again. It's a historic building. We've got the tab up by the hospital. Once that licence is gone because somebody closes down, which has happened before, that will go as well. And those are community places where people meet and greet. Now, Josh, we talked about people living in the CBD. I've spent a lot of time overseas and a lot of time in a lot of different cities, and people that coexist in the CBD, they know that they're going to have noise because that's where they live. And we need to have a vibrant CBD. I've been here all my life and I just want it to go ahead, you know. I don't want our city to be a ghost town. So we've got a bar that we're trying to do, which is Ben's Bar. There's no way that the bank will loan us money if Ben can't operate. So that building will have to be demolished. And that is going to be the case with several buildings within the CBD. So pretty much what I'm saying is that we need to actually get together as a community, and it's not on licences that are the problem, it's off licences in supermarkets. And we've got a big drug problem in town because I spend most of my life in town doing buildings. And anybody here would know that we've done a lot of buildings for a lot of different customers, like Melita Brothers, we've done the Verve for Pang Yi, we've done a lot of buildings. And we see it, and the drug problem within the CBD is bad. It's not alcohol, apart from when those guys go down to the supermarket, which they do, which the street guys, and they go and bring back a box of Steinlager and they're drinking in front of the library. You know, it scares people and people get abused. So our proposal was to actually put a whole apartment block within the CBD, this was 4 years ago, and have a whole courtyard area within, and a food place within the CBD, and it would coexist with both, you know. And if you look at Melbourne and a lot of other, you know, towns, So at the moment, what we've got is we've got a place that tourism, when we got invited, my wife and I got invited on a ship 4 weeks ago, Silver Seas, out there. 2 guys that came onto that ship, I asked them how they enjoyed Gisborne. They told me it's a shithole, they would never come back here. I was gutted, because the thing is that we've got a great town, we've got great people, and I know that we get together when we, you know, in times of crisis, like Cyclone Bowler, Gabriel, earthquakes, we've actually all pulled together and actually done it as a team, you know? So the thing is, what we've got to do is have a CBD that can actually coexist with sensitive sites, because if you look at Christchurch, for example, Christchurch, you've got OGB right next to the cathedral. You've got, and Christchurch is a good example of sensitive sites next door to bars and cafes and restaurants. And you know, like you've got the Verve just down there. They serve alcohol, but they're not open all day. But the thing is that they're next to the library. So throughout the whole world, in cities, we've got sensitive sites all over the place. And I look at the council's dotted map, we're not going to have any bars, because honestly, the marina won't be able to open under the new policy, proposed policy at all. And people used to enjoy going there. People used to come from out of town to go to the fireworks every year, but they can't go and have a wine and, you know, a meal. And I'm sure that some of you people here don't drink, but the thing is, a lot of people just like a glass of wine with their meal or something, you know? And we want it to go for it. So that's all I'm really saying, is that I think it's got to stop, because we can't have a town that's a ghost town. And I'm quite happy to move out of town if this is going to carry on, because honestly, I'd rather borrow money and put it into Napier or Wellington. And that's how I feel about it, you know? So that's all I've got to say.
Thank you, Robbie.
Yeah, do you want to, you can ask me something.
Debbie and then Tony, thank you.
Leah, my question is, did you say that you're going to pull down that building?
Well, if we can't do anything with it, that would be what we'd do, because we've got no reason to keep it.
Is that because of the earthquake strengthening?
Well, no, it's not because of earthquake strengthening, it's because I can't afford to have a derelict building that's empty.
Yeah. Thanks.
You know, and it's not actually prone at the moment, which we've proved to the council. So it's actually able to be used straight away. But the thing is that there's no point in us even painting it. You know, that's how I feel about it.
Thanks.
You know, okay?
Oh, wait, I think Tony.
No, all good, thanks. No,
You got another?
No, he withdrew, thank you. No, it's all good. Thanks, Robbie. Thanks a lot. Ben, I think we're going to listen to you before morning tea, and then we might go with Leah afterwards.
I've got 18 copies of this.
Thank you. You can just give it there and they'll pass it on. Thanks.
But just additionally to what's been brought up this morning, a few people have actually wanted to show you what's happening out of town. I'd suggest that we look at local alcohol policies that are actually relevant to the size of Gisborne. It's all good showing us Tauranga, but the Tauranga local alcohol policies are not really relevant. It's a town that's the fastest growing city in New Zealand. It is a lot more vibrant than Gisborne. I've actually worked there, and I actually wanted to bring some of that to the Gisborne region. So that's just one thing. In terms of the radius for sensitive sites, a lot of other towns are actually a lot less. I think Selwyn District's actually 40 metres from a sensitive site. And additionally, other districts also exclude the CBD from that. Gisborne is very small. You've obviously seen the map that we've got. I believe that policies like this can actually obliterate the CBD. Now, I do actually have something that I want to read out. So basically, I stand before you today not just as Ben McCann, but as a passionate advocate to revitalise the beloved Gisborne CBD. For the past 19 months, I've been enriched in a battle for the right to open a venue in a historic building on the main street, which has held a licence for over 40 years. Yet I find myself fighting against not just bureaucracy, but against the misguided regulations that threaten to stifle the progress and suffocate the city's potential. We find ourselves in a perplexing situation. Despite the council's ambitious plans to breathe new life into the CBD, archaic rules and regulations stand as formidable barriers to progress. How can a city that is plagued by vacant buildings in desperate need of economic stimulation, yet we're hindered at every turn from opening businesses that could revitalise a piece of our community? Take a moment to examine the current venues within 150 metres of a sensitive site. Tahu is next to Kiwa Pools and Midway Surf Club. Rivers is next to an unconsented school on the main street as in Injuna. Tav is next to the House of Breakthrough and the hospital. Smash Palace will be next to a new worship facility. Verve Cafe is next to the library. Siduria is next to a school and the library. PBC is next to Oranga Tamariki, the courthouse and a childcare facility. Neighbourhood Pizzeria is next to a childcare facility. Osco, who sadly succumbed, may never be able to reopen under the proposed policies because they're also next to Oranga Tamariki and a number of other childcare facilities. So soon there'll be nothing left but a dissonant wasteland, devoid from the vibrant businesses that once thrived here. A sinking lid policy is just a metaphoric term to its grim reality that threatens to sink our city into irrelevance. Now this poses a question. Why are so many sensitive sites allowed to open within 150 metres of a licensed premise? Now, while I acknowledge that there are genuine concerns about alcohol-related harm within our community, I implore you to consider the evidence objectively. Is it safer to confine alcohol consumption to controlled compliant premises or to drive it underground to unmonitored environments fueled by cheap alcohol? Let's address the draft policy by Makarad, which appears to rest on questionable reasoning and conclusions. Simply referring to alcohol density statistics or ED visits fails to provide accurate representation of the situation in Gisborne. Furthermore, there is a lack of compelling evidence that indicates either the current or proposed local alcohol policies have effectively curbed alcohol-related harm in our community. Let me explain. The use of emergency department hospitalisation data. It's important to note that this may not provide a comprehensive understanding of what's truly happening in Gisborne. For example, the peak in ED visits in 2008 could be attributed to events like Rhythm and Vines, which draws around 30,000 attendees to celebrate New Year's. This significant influx presents a clear anomaly in data. To offer some context, the spike in ED visits coincides with Rhythm and Vines expanding into a 3-day event, causing a strain on hospital resources. Although Rhythm and Vines has now established over 30 full-time medics on site daily with medical clinics, Gisborne Hospital still receives injuries that can't be treated on site. Given this is a considerable anomaly, is this data reliable to make decisions about on-premise? Now, a recent Christchurch study highlighted the ineffectiveness of blanket restrictions on licensed premises. The majority, 67%, of hospital admissions from alcohol-related issues happened without a patient ever stepping foot in a licensed premise. We cannot ignore the fact that people will continue to drink regardless of the regulations imposed upon licensed premises. Furthermore, the availability theory, often cited in support of restrictive policies, is called into question by the same research. This is also reflective of what is stated by the NZ Police, where the majority of crime offenders did not consume alcohol in a licensed premise before committing a crime, debunked by the notion that these establishments are hotbeds for criminal activity. Further to this point, on point 23, Makarand mentions alcohol density, asserting that Gisborne's higher number of off-licences and on-licences leads to higher alcohol-related harm. I would call his maths into question. Upon calculating the total number of premises across all licence types, Gisborne is in fact less. It's 21.1 per 10,000 residents, slightly below the national average of 21.7. A more accurate way to measure this would be on-premise, which is on-licence and club, which are governed under the same rules, and off-licence, where you'll find Gisborne has 13.8 on-premise venues compared to the national average of 15.8 per 10,000. In conclusion, I urge you to reconsider the policy instead of focusing on solutions that promote instead focusing on solutions that promote responsible alcohol consumption whilst fostering economic growth. Let's not be shackled by fear, but rather embodied by the opportunity to shape a vibrant, thriving community for generations to come. I propose that we take away the sensitive site restrictions out of the CBD, not just for restaurants, but for taverns, because what's the point of having a CBD if we can't open a business on the main street? Now, I have provided for you guys to have a look at later. There's a study that actually tries to look at the data and segments it instead of blanket. Looking at blanket stats does not do you any good. They actually carried out a more specific research study in Christchurch. There's also another one on crime, which I've made some references to. And my reference was about the police. It's actually come off the police website, and I've screenshotted it there for you. So the facts are all there, but yeah, thank you.
Thanks for that. Any questions? I've been very clear. Thank you also for giving us this to refer to later. Any questions? Thanks, Ben. Leo, we might squeeze you in before morning tea if you're happy to. Yeah, that would be lovely. Thank you. Thanks, Ben. Welcome. This is a fresh glass. Welcome.
Hi everyone, my name's Lynn and I live on the Coons Pizzeria. I've just written myself some notes, so might just read them. So regarding your objective, which was 2.1, balance a healthy and safe Tairāwhiti with a vibrant and prosperous Tairāwhiti. Maintaining vibrancy in our city is crucial. Tourism and hospitality go hand in hand, and you'll often hear those two words in the same sentence. If there is no hospitality, that will drastically affect tourism, and there goes your vibrancy. It doesn't leave Gisborne looking like a very attractive option for new people considering moving to our region. Restaurants and licensed venues are essential for creating memorable experiences for both visitors and locals alike. We are currently experiencing a noticeable decline in social venues here in Gisborne, limiting the opportunities for community engagement and connection. A bustling main street should be a hub of social interaction, offering spaces for relaxation, celebration and new encounters. Imagine a city in where after 3 p.m. there's no place to enjoy a refreshing beer or wine on the main street. Such limitations are rarely seen in thriving cities. Encouraging local licensed environments that promote positive, responsible drinking behaviours and mitigate alcohol-related harm should be the goal. These controlled settings offer patrons a space to unwind responsibly, fostering a culture of moderation and safety. It's important to acknowledge that obtaining a liquor licence is a rigorous process and a serious commitment for business owners that's not taken lightly. They are bound by the Sale and Supply of Alcohol Act 2012, ensuring that alcohol is sold and consumed in a manner that prioritises public safety and minimises harm. This piece of legislation includes large fines for businesses who are not meeting these standards. Licensees should be fostered and supported by our local council, as these people are doing their best to keep hospitality alive, and by doing so they are putting themselves in a position of personal liability. In regards to our current LAP, in which no new licences can be provided to taverns located within 150 metres of sensitive sites, in terms of a sensitive site in the CBD, there is also a framework in which to follow in regards to resource consent. It would make sense that in such cases where a sensitive site applies for consent in an area with long-standing existing licensed premises within 150 metres of their proposed site, that resource consent should be denied for that reason. Sensitive sites should also have proved some ongoing long-term commitment to the proposed site in a form of a substantial lease or have purchased the property. For example, a month-to-month lease in the CBD should not be allowed to dictate the futures of surrounding businesses and the prosperity and vibrancy of our main street, the very place where visitors to our region would expect to find bars and restaurants. I think that the 150 metre rule shouldn't apply in the CBD to any licensed premises. These policies need to be clearer, fairer and more transparent with a more common sense approach used in such matters.
Lovely. Thanks a lot. So, Leah, we've got one question from
Yes,
Councillor
yes.
Robinson. Thank you.
Thanks, Leah. So you said if no hospitality, there'll be no tourism. And obviously there's a link between people want to enjoy themselves out in the CBD and we want a vibrant CBD. Your business shuts at 8:30. So probably people are consuming far too much alcohol and causing a problem in the CBD is not through your business.
No.
Do you have any thoughts on solutions to address that as a local business owner?
Solutions to address.
Alcohol harm in the CBD,
Okay.
consumption in the CBD.
Well, so I've sat the licence controllers course 3 times, 2 times in New Zealand and once in Sydney, and that is put in place to, educate the people that are running these establishments on how to run a safe premises. Like obviously you're having to offer food, entertainment, things that slow the consumption of alcohol. Like it's not a free-for-all type situation like you might get at a party, in a home situation. So I mean, the monitoring, yes, it's a controlled environment. The monitoring of people's, sobriety and stuff and the drinks is controlled. And I think that it's a safer environment for people to be socialising and drinking than it is for them to be buying alcohol and drinking in their own home environments, really, as far as like parties and get-togethers with friends and large groups of people. So,
Thank you for that. Okay, we're going to have a break for a quick cup of tea. We'll come back 10:20 and then we will have Tamara and David. Thank you.
Can I just say something? We've got a vacant apartment at the moment, Josh, which you'd want to have a look at, which you guys are more than welcome to come and have a look after this meeting to see what we can do in this town. And you can see what the result is after we've fixed the building. And that way you'd see it's right next to a liquor licence place anyway, so which is in Peel Street.
We're going to break for a cup of tea. Thank you very much. There we go. 10:20, we'll be back. Let's get cracking. Next, I would like to invite Tamara Cresswell-Wells to come and talk to us. Good morning. There we go. You can hand that out. Morning. No worries, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Kia ora, councillors and community. So I've joined the list of speakers today as a returning Gisborne local. I've been abroad for nearly 10 years in the UK, studying and working, a lot of which has revolved around high street restoration work, urban planning, a lot of government infrastructure, and also building on decile schools, getting them up to standards, and developing the community in smaller towns around the UK. I was quite struck when getting back into Gisborne earlier this year to see the state that it's in. It's quite sad. I've had both my parents have worked for the council over the years, and they've always been heavily invested in the development of the town, and both in the engineering departments and in education, and both very passionate about what they do in this town, and getting it back on its feet is very important to our family. So yes, during my time away I was fortunate to work in these sectors, so that's given me quite a good objective view returning to the town and being able to look at our policies and our procedures and seeing what is working, what isn't. I wanted to take a closer look at the policies, the areas surrounding the distancing, the 150 metres in particular, around sensitive sites, has stood out to me in our alcohol policies as something that is a little bit irrelevant, I think, to what we need to happen for our town to get back on its feet, for our policies to work around alcohol. The issue we've always had in Gisborne is that the off licenses, the density of them and the availability and marketing around the off licenses is the problem. I think it's our home drinking that is, it's the culture that we are creating in Gisborne that is the problem, and it's certainly not our on-licensed premises. If anything, they are a help, not a hindrance. They regulate the drinking. They allow for a place where there are standards and expectations surrounding drinking and the way that you behave. And I believe that they shouldn't be punished for the drinking that's going on at home in the suburbs. We need them to thrive. At the moment, it's clear that they're dwindling in number and that they're up against some challenges which frankly aren't really helpful to any of us as a community. I wanted to pick up on the fact that the Curtis School keeps coming up today, which is something that struck me as unusual, as it's actually a topic that I wanted to get in touch with the council more about individually. It's unusual that this would be highlighted as a sensitive site that is in the CBD and causing a lot of controversy, clearly. It's not a compliant school site. Anyone can look at that building and say that the school shouldn't be in there. This is a topic that I'd like to discuss with councillors at another time, perhaps, as it's not particularly relevant today. However, I think that there are other options that we should assess with moving forward with our alcohol policies, other than restricting our on-licensed premises. I think regulating the number, density, location and marketing of the off-licensed premises is going to be our best option moving forward. I think we need to, I think the best protection for our community against alcohol-related harm will come from education and the reform of the drinking culture at an individual level. I think, as stated just before, the consumption of alcohol in public settings such as taverns and Class 1 restaurants is actually vital to the education of our community, particularly young people, as it does set those clear standards and examples. If we remove our establishment's ability to gain these alcohol licenses, then we're removing their license to help educate and revitalise our community, as they are assisting in doing that. The vibrancy that we are so desperately seeking in our town, where vibrancy keeps coming up, and all we need to do to find that is to look at the faces of the business owners who have come and spoken to us today, because they are calling out to us to help. They're here because our policies and our procedures are counterintuitive to this vibrancy that we so desperately seek. And I believe that we need to listen to our business leaders. These are our most entrepreneurial minds in the town. And as Mr. McCann said, if we are not willing to listen to them and help and find beneficial solutions for everyone, then they will not be afraid to take their businesses elsewhere, their time and money and effort. And that will be our loss as a community. So I think it's really imperative that we find positive and encouraging culture. The council work together with our business owners and make sure that there is a vibrant future for everyone and for everyone.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Foster, thank you.
Thank you for your presentation and your passion tomorrow. I've got a question for when your travels and your work that you did over in the UK as an urban designer and everything, was there any other places there that had any restrictions on sensitive sites in a CBD environment?
Absolutely none that I could notice. I would say that there's one thing that all the vibrant cities have in common, and that is an abundance of hospitality. There's no restrictions to sensitive sites. You will have pubs, cafes, schools, churches, all next to each other. They all coexist. They're all happy. People are more respectful of each other because it is just the way it is. Their own devices. People build rapport with each other, and everyone can coexist. There's no reason why that shouldn't be something that we can do here as well.
Thank you. Lucky last today, David Steed. Good morning, how are you?
Okay, my name's David Steed. I've made a few submissions already. I think due to the nature they're slightly competitive and probably OT and technicals are probably not ideal for this environment. I've also got on Friday, I was kindly provided a copy of the last consultation for the original alcohol policy, and that because I wanted to figure out where the 150 metres came from, where the sensitive sites came from, and why we've got a incredibly inflexible system. First of all, I'll talk about just one observation as far as like what Warren deals with. I mean, being a Warren boy, I'm flattered that Susan was trying to emulate the nightlife of Warren, but a police report back in 2018 identified issues in respect of lack of nightlife being a contributing factor to shed parties throughout the township. Obviously, those parties are unregulated, uncontrolled, and often in areas of low income, which I think across the board is identified as an area of high risk, vulnerable people. So that hasn't been raised here previously. So back to the, if I have permission to verge on a late submission regarding the last process. Three issues that came to mind was the submissions wanted protection for sensitive sites, but they didn't know, but the submitters didn't know, well, what is a sensitive site and what's the proximity to the sensitive site, and they expressed a desire for flexibility. For example, they wanted churches to be able to have cake stalls and alcohol might be there with weddings, school fundraisers and things like that. Notably, today we had presentations wanting to kill that flexibility, but I'll move on. As far as the 150 metres, that derives from a 300, there was an opinion piece written in the US paper for 300 metres. That was held out to be, council was told that this was actually a best practice, international best practice, and later on it was held out, explained to council this was derived from international research. It's actually just an opinion piece by a, shall I say, a temperance flavoured type organisation in the 1990s. It was restated in a judicial Department of Justice thing, being one of 16 best practices. There's been no research or consideration to actually being best practice. Subsequently, that was held to be under the mediation with the supermarkets and bottle stores, that was cut down to 150 square metres. They said it was due to a compromise with the bottle stores and supermarkets. But since the council gave an exemption to the bottle stores and supermarkets, 150 square metres is purely what council thought they'd get away with, simply because in the report they said that 300 metres would result in a blanket ban, which would be unreasonable. What I would submit is the 150 square metres still results in a blanket ban, and that is unreasonable based on council's own guidelines. The other one is go to the definition of sensitive sites. Originally that was intended to be very flexible, subject to the DLC putting those, using its discretion to figure out what is a sensitive site, and the sensitive sites were held to be more vulnerable to alcohol than other areas might be. Again, during the mediation, the supermarkets, bottle stores and tri-agencies got together and thought, oh, well, this is too complicated, well, everything is a sensitive site. So coupled with the 150 square metres and everything being a sensitive site, you essentially have a blanket ban. And so that's the origin of, and with that you've got complete inflexibility. I'm not familiar with the ins and outs of the alcohol type legislation, but I learned today that the DLC can still overrule things, but I think you're probably giving the DLC a lot of heavy lifting to do if your policy is the way it is now. I mean, I think I made 3 recommendations in my most recent one. One is to reinstate explicit DLC discretion in respect to determining what constitutes a sensitive site. The 2 is remove the exemptions for off licences, just to show that I'm not just a pro-alcohol type person, because by all the research shows that off licences are a higher cause of harm, yet our policy is, has concessions to off licences, which makes not a lot of sense. And also reduce the buffer zone to 50 metres. Personally, I like it to be removed entirely, but I think we need to go through a consultation process if you're going to go all the way as far as that goes. But that's pretty much what I've got. As I say, I've been rushed through most of my submissions, but as far as written submissions, if there's any clarifications or questions, I'm happy to answer them either today or later. I'm aware of a few ones in hindsight that aren't quite where they should be, or they might be a little bit militant, where they could be a bit softer. But yeah, open to whatever questions anyone might have.
Thank you, David. Any questions? Councillor Robinson, thank you.
Not a question, but I just want to thank you, David, for the calibre, the breadth and depth of your submissions. It was excellent reading, it was very comprehensive, it showed a lot of time and commitment, and I really appreciate it, so thank you.
Thank you, David. Well, this brings us to the end of this part of the process. So, like I said earlier, the process is today we've listened to submissions. I do want to thank everyone that has taken the time. Thank you for your well thought through feedback to us, taking the time also out of your busy day to come and talk to us. Staff, we have heard you. Staff will be taking what they've heard today and also the 100 written submissions we have received and putting that into a report which we will deliberate on next week. It will be done in public. You will not be able to attend it except if you're going to drive up to Pukaka Marae, up and close to Lawton Point, but you will be able to watch it online, so there will be a link available. We will be having our council meeting, as we do 4 council meetings a year we're having in our regions. So you will not be able to watch us here, but you will be able to watch the live link, which is available on the council website. But again, I just want to thank everyone for taking the time, and we will be taking a good look at all the evidence, all the feedback. We have received very clear feedback through the 100 submissions, and you will be able to see next week, Wednesday, when we debate this and make decisions. So thank you very much for your time, and I declare this meeting closed. Thank you.